Please, 1 week I don't have to talk about politics.
1 week without the
that'd be great.
Yes.
Please. Anyway, we're live. Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 826. The link between Sonic and Autism Capitals Explained. All right. This is from Odysseus. He has about 5,000 subs. And this came out a month ago. Almost 800,000 views. That's crazy. So this must be a really good video. It's got all kinds of, it's 99% upvotes. So that's good. For 12 minutes.
You would think like this is going to be some kind of like a Greek mythology because Odysseus. And Zelda because it's a link between.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I didn't think of that.
Oh, yeah, man.
It's
we have so much thing to...
If he brings up some scientific papers, that'd be great, because this is something I studied back in university, and I'm sure there's a connection between high twitch reaction, hand-eye coordination, and autistic people, because they're using their high sensitivity and reaction speed to a thing, which is fun, which is gaming. And Sonic is a pretty okay example, at least in the early 90s, that someone like that might appreciate. Now, of course, he has to define what autism is. It's not just one thing. It's a whole spectrum of developmental disorders and also savantism. So there's high-focused autists that can be amazing artists, visual or audio. So it's not just all bad. It's not all just social anxiety. It's not all just being shy and introverted or neurotic. There's lots of talents involved with having a focus. And I could argue that a lot of my friends growing up with had degrees of autism because they could do things that very few others could do, like focus so intently on, let's say, paint or art and or studying. So
or just play Sonic.
They like games too. Most guys did back in the day. We all played games and we played sports and just had a good time. So yeah, this could be a very decent video, and it looks like it is. So let's find out.
I think like recently I had to talk with one of my coworkers who has a master's degree in psychology, and she claimed that because autism has such a large spectrum, we can't really call it that like people are autistic because every person has some kind of autism. And
really,
Asperger's is outdated nowadays.
Interesting.
I was like, really?
I do know genetics and medical sciences are changing daily. I'm sure there's a material component to psychology that doesn't get looked as quickly as, let's say, studying the genome or cancer or whatever. Because a lot of money is in that. But for psychology, it's a very slow process and takes lots of studies. And even that, there's the social element, which is overlooked and overshadowed by the behavioral element or the behavioral discipline of psych, just because it's more practical and it's more there's more to look at. There's more to test. You can do the same test yourself.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like a hot take anyway.
Yeah, some social sciences and psychology do have some issues, but you know what? With correlations, you do get some good data, and it's not the most accurate, but it is still a correlation. So if we got some people in the 0.4 or even the 0.3 versions of a correlation, positive or negative, that is noteworthy. So when you see these graphs, you don't know what they mean. You're like, that's not a positive correlation, a negative. Yeah, but it's 0.3. It's like, yeah, but that's, it could be 0.1 and it's useless. Like, yeah, but it's 3 times as not useless. So yeah, how you evaluate stats, you learn a lot in studying psychology and how that affects the curve and who's on what side. Anyway, let's go.
ASD and Sonic. From what I've seen on the internet, there is a clear trend between the two. From content to memes to people just flat out asking, what is it with autistic people and Sonic?
That's not...
And this piqued my curiosity.
That's not a good start.
That is the worst start you can...
I was on the internet and some guy said autism and Sonic. I was like, oh, no, sir.
I came from a TikTok video that led me to Reddit, to asking the big question of my life.
Yeah, if he was
is Sonic autistic?
Yeah, if he was like, I grew up with Sonic... My friends grew up with Sonic. I went into psychology, and then I learned about high twitch muscle fiber or C fibers in neurology and how that relates to pain. And this correlates to people with neurological disorders, and through that we found people with autism, and they had C fiber. And then you have to find the connections, right? You don't just go, I was on TikTok and this guy said Sonic and autism, and I'm like, what? No.
And then I ended up on DeviantArt, and I was looking up like Sonic fetish material. Hopefully not.
I was on fanfic.net and someone said something in psychology, so therefore I thought autism. Like, no.
I was like, oh my god, is this Sonic? Is this finally cinema?
All right.
Awesome. So I decided to do some research in order to truly explain the link between Sonic the Hedgehog.
All right, so truly, he's using the words I don't like. The real way.
The
only way. This is how you learn.
In my opinion.
My way is the right way after years and years of trying. I have discovered the true path to knowledge. Like, okay. Use the big words, sir. Here we go.
The truly Catholic way of Sonic the
Autism
Hedgehog.
spectrum disorder.
Oh.
For this video, I decided to split my findings into 3 different topics. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I should
Okay.
probably explain what autism exactly is first. Autism
Good.
spectrum
Good.
disorder, or ASD, is a neurological disorder affecting the way a person socializes, behaves, and learns.
That's putting it very simply, but he's on the right track. That's okay.
The exact cause of autism is still
He
unknown.
cried.
However, scientists have found that it's typically genetic and can run in families.
Okay.
ASD can vary in type and severity in different people, hence why it's referred to as a spectrum disorder.
Good enough.
The most highlighted symptoms usually include difficulty reading social cues, making little to no eye contact, talking on about a passionate subject despite other parties not being interested, and being
That is not a specific. That's like a very specific. Like you could just talk to yourself and you'd be crazy on a different level. But the idea is that you're high in neuroticism, you're low in openness to experience, and you're high in introversion. So you're either scared or focused in one certain way. Is because your body's not being as active as an extrovert, your brain is being active in another way, and that could be. The best examples I know are the Simpsons fans, and there's flavors of Simpsons fans I've met over the years, and some of these guys are like normal looking guys, and they just know everything about Simpsons, and some of these guys, they look like they pulled them out of a dungeon from like 10 years ago to talk about the Simpsons, and you're like, oh my god. So yeah.
I was just about to bring up the Simpsons, yeah.
Yeah, so there's lots of fans or fandoms of these people that are certainly autistic. They have social learning disorders. It's a developmental disorder, and they don't have the same friendships or relationships that you might have had growing up. And it's not because they weren't in those environments. It's because they just did not know how to integrate and talk to kids and get along, that sort of thing.
And they never learned.
Yeah, so
there's a song in Sonic called "Live and Learn."
Oh yeah, okay. Well,
why didn't he use that joke?
I'm
already disappointed in this video.
The idea of saying that someone just talking about a topic when no one's listening is like, that's a really specific scenario.
That is a subset of a subset.
It's like that could be a guy in a padded cell. Like that could be lots of things. Anyway,
more sensitive to sensory input, such as sight, sound, and taste. There are lots more symptoms that can vary from person to person and can cause trouble for people with ASD to make friends or socialize. And if their disorder is severe, they may at times not be able to communicate at all.
Well, no, it's not severity. They just will not communicate. They are so introverted, they'll just sit in their chair while recess goes, and they won't even get up sometimes because they don't want to. They don't care to.
Yeah, that's my life.
It's pretty common for someone to be diagnosed with ASD. According to the CDC, it affects approximately 1 in 36 people in the United States, and 1 in 100 worldwide. Autism is a common neurological disorder that affects one's form of communication.
It can be considered a disorder.
So wait, like the US has the most autistic people? Is that correct? If 1 in 100 is for worldwide and 1 in 36, yeah, that means like US is the leading autistic country.
Yeah, it must be all that Coca-Cola in the water, you know.
Yes, Coca-Cola that makes the frogs gay.
Yeah, here we go. Let's do a correlation agreement on the Coca-Cola in the water.
As well as their senses. People with autism, and the way to do so properly depends greatly on the severity of their disorder. However, it's still possible for an autistic person to excel at some activities most would find challenging.
I would argue they are extremely good at specific things they're focused on, like the trivia of The Simpsons. One of my friends who I could have sworn had some degree of autism was an amazing artist, and that was reflected in his personality, how he was very soft-spoken, very kind, also introverted, not shy, just introverted, and just would be like the most chilled out guy you can imagine, like a Bob Ross kind of guy. Sorry, an Alex Ross kind of guy. Like, just, he loved drawing, but he wasn't like flowery like Alex. Is it Bob Ross or Alex Ross? I think it's Bob Ross, the guy with the afro that painted all the time. That was the sort of attitude we had with him. He's just so chilled out. He would draw like anything. It would just take him very long because he had to visualize everything. But he could draw like a gorilla playing the drums, and he would figure out, okay, what pose is he making, and he would just sit back and draw. It was beautiful stuff, and he could draw just about anything from imagining it. So that takes a lot of focus and a lot of visualization. So would I call him autistic? I don't know, but definitely there's something going on that he has that capability to visualize things properly.
I just feel like, that is like a much better point that the person was like very introverted. That, like, his skills were differently distributed than for most people.
Yeah, if you're going to talk about people having autism, you immediately have to talk about the Keirsey, either the Keirsey temperament scale or the Big Five personality traits in relation to the hypothetical person, because we're talking about a persona. We're talking about a profile. And if you don't talk about neuroticism or openness to experience or introversion or extroversion, you're not even well versed in the nomenclature. You're just sort of trying to explain an idea about a person. And it's just like, that's not how we communicate that concept about people in psychology. You have to know the basics at least. So I don't fault the guy for wanting to talk about this because he's obviously a fan, but just get the understanding of what you're trying to say, get the basic knowledge of at least first year psychology of the Big Five, and because when you read these papers, they all they talk about is personality traits in relation to the Big Five or Keirsey. So you got to use the same language, and if you don't, and you're a layman and you're talking about a topic you shouldn't be talking about.
Especially about Sonic.
Yeah, it's like talking about integral calculus. Well, the rocket goes on an arc. And you're like, yes, yeah, it's a parabola. Yeah, that's true. There's gravity. Oh, yeah, gravity's okay. You have to...
The Belgian Congo and Sonic. The first POW camps by the British.
Yeah.
And Sonic.
The apogee goes at this radius. Okay, that's good.
The Black Death.
That pretty much sums up the basics. Now that that's out of the way, it's time to get into the fun stuff. Sonic the Hedgehog. He and his friends need no introduction. Introduced in 1991, the series would go on to take the world by storm, spawning a long-running comics line, 7 television series, a multitude of attractions around the world, and even 3 blockbuster movies. Sonic is everywhere, and his bright blue color gives him away pretty easily. Which brings me to my first topic, sensory appeal. Think to yourself, what is it that makes the Sonic series...
Wait, are we just going off your observations? He's blue. People like the color blue. Blue is a calming color. People who are introverted like calming things. Like, what? Can we please reference a paper soon, sirs? I'm not going to sit through this crap.
He's definitely not.
Oh my goodness.
He's so... Is it his super speed and his love for freedom? Huge and colorful beloved cast of characters? Or maybe it's the recognizable and catchy music that comes with every game? Well, what about all of those things? Because of autistic people's higher sensitivity to senses, they're in turn more sensitive to certain stimuli, making them more...
So because it's colorful and it has catchy music, autistic people like it? What? How about a psychopath? Psychopaths like catchy music and bright colors.
I mean, if you think about it, like Skibidi Toilet has like broke the world. It has become such mainstream, and it's exactly like what you would expect Sonic the Hedgehog to be.
So like green.
It's fast. It's. I think there's all the colors of the rainbow in Skibidi Toilet series.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Green Plains was just the intro, like the
and people coming out of toilets.
Yeah, it's like
a stretched necks.
The gateway music track to Sonicdom, and you're like, oh,
yeah. Green Hill Zone. Wow.
Now I need techno.
Now I can smell the autism.
Oh.
I'm on the spectrum now.
Oh god.
Fixate certain details or features. One of the most common findings in my research, more specifically when I googled the question up front, were the colors of the characters.
Are you
has
joking?
A very
No way.
Are you joking? Maroon and a dark blue. Are you saying autistic people like Tails because he's maroon? And Sonic because he's like what?
Well, you see, like Tails is obviously like a German character, self-insert, because Tails has like the Aryan color scheme, like, blonde, white, blue eyes, and then Shadow is. Come on, he's African.
I would love it if Sonic was like monochrome and the graphics, like we didn't have 8-bit, we had like monochrome colors back in. This would be really hilarious if like computer technology was focused on
like on one of those Tiger Electronics.
Yeah, like imagine during the Atari era, but they didn't have color. It was because they focused too much on microprocessing power as opposed to video emulation. So everything was like 2-bit, and everything was black and white. And you saw like these amazing like gradations between black and white. So like I don't know, like 10 million colors of gray, right? And because you're autistic, you could focus on all these little hues of gray because you pay more attention than the average person because of whatever. You have super autistic powers. And you'd be like, wow, because of this dimension of the hex code FF00AA, therefore they could pick it apart because they're autistic. You're like, what? You'd still be like, what are you talking about? Like the argument that bright colors make autistic people calm, I don't know what are you talking about? At first it was music, now it's okay, whatever. Let's keep going.
Shouldn't it be the opposite? I mean, like extroverted people are like more like something that they want to have more sensory things rather than like these upbeat things.
It depends. Some people they take offense to like kaleidoscope colors. They have very sensitive eyes. Whereas some people are so in their own shell that they need a very stimulating sensory input. So it depends on the sensitivity because not everyone has the same ability to perceive color and light the same way, especially if you're colorblind or you have high sensitivity to brightness. So it really depends. And this is such a material or empirical understanding of the optical nerve, and not in relation to having a syndrome, but just how it operates and how everyone's genetics are slightly different in that capacity. So I'm sure there's a connection, but yeah, you can't just say, I think because the colors look good. You're like, okay.
I honestly think like just looking at this picture with all the characters on the screen, it's just like a visual disaster. Because every character has a different color. Like there's just, of course, like design wise, you can like separate them.
Yeah. Because
like they look very different from each other, which is a plus from the Japanese game. But
a lot of the pastels are hard to differentiate.
It's just it just doesn't fit together. Like you can't have them on the screen. This is too much.
Yeah. All right, let's get going.
Every character has a certain color assigned to them, typically reflecting their traits. Let's take a look at the main.
Also, I feel that having a topic like this, like you really shouldn't talk about tertiary topics like colors, palettes, and schemes. when you have like such a broad subject like Sonic and autism.
Yeah, this is very anecdotal, and you don't want some guy talking about the basics. Like you can talk about the basics, but you have to back that up with research and ask people who are autistic, who are fans of Sonic, why do you like them? And they go, I really like the color blue, and Sonic is a solid blue color, and everything else around him is whizzing by, and I find that calming, or I find that stimulating, or whatever. You're like, oh, interesting. Let me go talk to 200 other autistic people just like you and get their input. Like that's what you would do. So you say, hey, Steve and thousands of people like Steve like ice cream that's flavored with chocolate chips as opposed to chocolate ice cream flavored with vanilla chips or whatever. Like, oh, that's fascinating. Why is that? Like that's what you would do. And you talk about the most mundane shit because that's what these studies are. Like we had studies on tomato sauce, for God's sakes, in Italy. Why do people like marinara more than garlic or onions or chunky or all the dozens of other tomato flavors there are, and what kinds of tomatoes and how they process them and how they cook them and blah blah blah. And they found out there was 3 major kinds out of all this giant spectrum of tomato sauce. You're like, oh, that's fascinating. But you talk about it because you have data. You don't just say I like the colors.
I love the colors. They are the best.
They're the best colors.
They are the best colors.
Oh God, I kept listening to that.
Joe, have you seen those colors? Like it just makes him so fast.
I hired the best people. They were the best. Everyone told me they were the best. They were the best.
The Dreamcast was the best console. They just didn't believe because the DVDs came out, Joe.
Oh God, if you guys did not watch the Trump interview, you got to go watch it. Anyway.
You need to watch the Trump interview.
Crew, for example. Sonic's blue, representing his love for freedom and justice.
Really?
Tails is bright orange, his companionship and determination.
Really?
Knuckles is red, his strength and anger.
Are you being serious right now, sir? Are you Leonardo da Vinci describing how there's a human element to just perceiving color?
The curtains are blue, so it means the author was thinking that it is actually sad.
This is so surface level weird that
sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
This is worse than Freud. I think red is anger. Like okay, it's not really red. It's like a dirt orange, I guess, a burnt umber. If you want to be technical, but fine. Red.
Amy's femininity and love, and Shadow's black. His dark past.
Because he's an N-word. Like, what is this?
Yes.
Like what? Shadow's black. Like what is he talking? Like that could be anything. Black is like the combination of all colors or the absence of all colors, depending on the additive or subtractive model. What are you talking about?
Shadow is black because it's supposed to reference slavery, because black people used to be in America.
Oh, he's a rebel.
A slave.
He's a black.
Yes, he's a rebel.
It makes so much color theory makes so much sense now. He's not even using color theory. He's just saying stuff. Anyway, Legacy. How's it going, Legacy? Thank you for the tip. No matter how much liquor I consume, I can't vibrate through the fact I'm a horrible person. Edgy Flash. I don't even know what is happening in this video. He's just saying stuff, and you're like, okay, I guess. We're at 2 minutes and a, 3 minutes and a half, and we're just like, oh boy.
He lost us after 1 minute.
We're like, ooh. Some autistic people speak when no one's listening. You're like, yeah. Anyway.
Individuals with ASD may have trouble predicting the complex world around them. As they get familiar with characters such as those in Sonic the Hedgehog, they are able to easily read their cartoony facial features, and find not just predictability, but relatability as well, in their character design alone. And through this, they may find solace. You may find some individuals choosing their favorite character.
They may find solace looking at the art style of how the faces were drawn.
We don't want to talk about Dragon Age. Like, enough of solace, please.
Oh, yeah?
It's not that kind of sauce, okay?
No, apparently not. But there is a point to be made about associating with a face. a welcoming face, a calming face, an angry face. There's all kinds of wonderful emotions in the human psyche that when we perceive a face, it affects us differently, and everyone can get the universal understanding of what the face is, but not the articulation of, is that anger, is that fear? Like there's always this overlap between some of the negative ones. So there's a wonderful spectrum of facial identity, and I'll be able to identify what emotion is associated with what facial expression. And I think there's 5 cardinal faces, or 5 or 6 of them. So once you have those, that is like a universal thing. And maybe these people who are autistic like the feminine style characters in Sonic, because it is calming, because that's how feminist faces, or female faces are supposed to look. So there is there's a lot of research on faces. So yes, he's right, but he's not backing any of this up with any history, with any studies, with any, like, we have decades of this stuff. He's just saying, well, people look at faces, and faces in Sonic are calming. You're like,
but look at
what?
all this footage that he's showing about Sonic games and movies.
When the people didn't like the face of Sonic, originally, I remember that. They changed it. This is horrible.
Yeah, because it was only blue and ugly.
It was. They tried to make a realistic version of a furry alien that looked like Sonic, and it was really bad. So kind of creepy, actually. They had to go back to the cartoony style. Anyway, 4 minutes.
Their color being a major factor as to why. And this can even branch beyond ASD. Someone may be comfortable with more overstimulating neon colors, like red. So they may be more intrigued by characters like Knuckles or Dr. Eggman.
Why?
While those more comfortable with more calm colors, like purple, may find the most consolation in Espio or Big. Sonic's huge cast of characters, each with their own identifiable color and personality, can...
All you're doing is saying it's good design. The guys who design the characters have good design sense, which you could say about Mario, you could say about all these other games, all this other stuff in the 90s. You're not saying anything that a layman would look at and say, oh, look, they're cute. People like cute things, therefore they like Sonic. Like, what? How about Hello Kitty? How about Onpon Man? How about...
Excellent design in all aspects.
There's so many amazing Chinese and Japanese anime or manga or characters that we have had, which I would argue are more prolific, more attractive, more iconic. Not to say Sonic isn't, but you're just like, there's something very specific about Sonic. And it's the fact that you had all these crazy levels in the game that you would like, oh, you could make games like this really fast twitch response. And I don't even know if they were that complicated, because like I couldn't even tell when to jump, so I was just jumping for fun. And sometimes you hit a bump and it would make you go even faster. You're like, oh my god, it's like watching a pinball machine do its thing for 20 seconds, and I'm like, whoa, it's just fun to watch the spectacle, because there's no way you could anticipate what's coming next, because the screen wasn't that big. You only had 800 by 600, or not even 400 by 320, whatever it was. And you're like, all right, this is pretty cool for the 90s, in like 91 or 92, whenever it came out. That's what you should focus on.
First game, yeah.
Yeah, that's what this guy should focus on, because that was even the selling point, was blast graphics, or whatever the bloody hell Sega was trying to say it was superior to Super Nintendo or Nintendo at the time. So that is what we should focus on, not this 3D stuff, which is like a decade later at least. So.
I think because like the Sonic fans of the good games from the Genesis are not really as outspoken as but when it suddenly became 3D with the Adventures, I believe that was like their first like real dip into 3D. The other ones are just like prototypes for this. Yeah,
and I think if you're going to make a game where you do go that, because there's plenty of racing games where you go apparently like 1,000 miles per hour. I can't remember what it was. G-Force, not G-Force. What the hell was it called? You had these futuristic cars, and you're going like on the ceiling and these.
Yeah, I think there was a sci-fi one as well. I can't remember the name. Flat Out, maybe.
Something like that. Yeah, it was. I remember playing those games. They were fun, and because they were 3D and you were third person seeing the track in front of you, you had the opportunity to steer and dodge, and that's what you would need. And they did that with I think it was like a few years ago with the Sonic games. They made a whole forest and you were running through all these.
Wipeout.
Was it
Was the
Wipeout?
game.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
cool. That was such a fun little futuristic.
That was such a crazy game.
Compared to like Project Gotham and all those other very good looking games at the time, like for the new Xbox and all the other consoles that came out, that was like this really slick, well done for its time. Very, very, like you were going insanely fast. So,
Oh yeah.
that was like to design levels like that is really hard, and it requires a certain skill set to design, to code, to draw, to model, to animate. And that like we have to get into that, and then you get into like speed freaks, like people who love cars in the 70s, and why are they still buying cars? Why are they still racing cars? What's the appeal? Is it the testosterone level?
Yeah, those old Need for Speed games as well.
Yeah, those are.
I remember that I had like some classmates who got into like customizing their own cars because of that game.
Yeah, even the arcade stuff,
Crazy.
like Crazy Taxi. People still love those.
Yeah.
So, like, was it not Afterburner? That was the one in the planes.
Yeah. There was also like the Star Wars Episode 1 movie game, the racing game. That was legitimately fun.
Yeah, I remember that. I haven't played it, but I know what you're talking about. Pod racing.
Yeah. Like the pod racer, yeah. Like that was crazy fast as well.
Yeah, so
that they should have limited down into
So-
video games.
this guy is not talking about psychology very well. He's not talking about the genre that made Sonic work, because you're attributing a character to a fast-paced game, and we already had racing games before the 90s. We had like late 80s. We had what were they called? Things like Excite-Up Bike, but they weren't really fast. I'm trying to remember. They were simulations essentially. But I had a few of them. My first computer I bought, I had like 3 or 4 games. And one of them was a car racing game. If it was like Formula 1 or F1, and you would unlock the cars as you went, and eventually you got like, it was basically a simulator where you did loop the loops and off the ramps. We're talking like really low poly before we had hardware accelerator, so or graphics processors. So it was really cool. But it wasn't super fast, but that's the genre you have to start with, saying this is what people liked, and this is what someone with autism or with some sort of visual talent, hand-eye coordination, response times, drawing skills, whatever the perception of that at the time. I don't even know if they called it autism then. Whatever that symptom was. And say, oh, they are being stimulated by this game, as all kids are stimulated by video games, as most guys are who are young. But this one specifically attached itself to people with autism or people with that sort of learning disorder or that developmental disorder. And this is why, or this we think is why. That's what you should be speculating on, not going, well, the colors are nice. The faces are nice. The design is good. I'm like, you're describing a cake, and everyone likes eating cake. That's not helping why the autistic prefers the chocolate cake as opposed to the banana cake. Like, tell me why. He's not doing that. He's just saying...
Well, because of the colors, you see. Like, the yellow color of the banana indicates that it's delicious. But it can also mean urine.
Oh, God. All right.
You got distinct the smell.
Reminds me of my childhood where I was left alone, but no one talked to me, so I focused on the yellowness of Bart Simpson and his skin tone. What? Oh my God. Anyway.
And stimulation to people with ASD. This comfort has the possibility to easily lead someone with ASD into an introduction with the Sonic games.
Why?
However, it can go beyond just the design of the characters. Sonic is known for the fact that each game has a quality soundtrack.
You said that already.
Yeah, he already talked about the soundtrack.
Yeah. Are we now going to go into autistic people who like Shinji who just listens to music on repeat?
Yeah.
Because
Shinji actually listens to the Sonic soundtrack because he has the hedgehog syndrome or whatever.
oh god, I wasn't even thinking that. My brain didn't even go there. I was just like, who's a guy who's a loner and just listens to music by himself? Well, Sonic is a really good sound. It's like, this is all this guy is saying. Sonic is really good. It's got really good music. It looks really pretty.
Not now. I want to see a video of Shinji just walking with his earphones. Angel Island Act 1.
And he's so depressed. He's just walking by. There's happy music in the background.
He touches one of those bouncing things.
Maybe when he's doing the
He dies
backflips,
instantly.
when he's doing the backflips with the symphony, instead of being the symphony soundtrack, where he's synchronized with.
It's just gonna be the invincibility theme from Sonic.
It's gonna be the Sonic soundtrack.
Oh, when they fill the pod with LCL liquid, it's just gonna be the underwater thing because Sonic can drown.
Oh, poor Sonic. All right, anyway.
Almost each game. Along with visual stimuli, people diagnosed with ASD can also be more sensitive to auditory stimuli, in turn allowing them to become more easily mesmerized in musical score. This can make listening to music feel more soothing and satisfying. That is, if it isn't too loud. They are also sensitive to the volume. Sonic's high-quality soundtrack, as a result, can...
Yeah, but you're just saying it has good music. What kind? You just showed an orchestra. Were they playing classical? Were they doing a classical rendition of one of the popular sounds or musics?
I think like that was just edited footage, but it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is so just maybe they're also sensitive to sound, and if they are, well, don't worry. Sonic has great music. You're like, okay, are you selling?
It's extremely surface level.
Are you trying to sell me on the idea that autistic people should be playing Sonic and I should go buy some games for some autistic friends of mine? Like, what is this video? It's like, is it a marketing thing? Are you like, did you go online? I did some research and I did some more queries on TikTok and I found people who are weird like me and also like Sonic. Therefore, what? No, that's not helping. We could literally do this with any video game. Pick any genre of any year, like Pong. Pong is soothing. It's slow. It's like tennis, but you're not actually playing tennis. So you could attribute it to being active, even though you're introverted, by playing an extroverted game. You're like, okay, and therefore the introvert would like this game because they can't interact with the extrovert, but they can still have the same experience in a physical kind of sense. And you're like, okay. Maybe Pong is the real game that autists were supposed to be playing all these years. I don't know. Anyway, we're at 5 minutes. Almost halfway done.
Easily with ASD. Iconic songs like City Escape, Sonic Heroes, and Live and Learn, as well as instrumental pieces like Emerald Coast, Kingdom Valley, and Studiopolis can play a significant part in enhancing the gameplay experience of someone with ASD. The memorable melodies, comforting rhythm, and nonverbal expression of these songs can help people with ASD escape from an overstimulating environment, in or outside of gameplay.
Are you trying to say that Sonic is soothing, as opposed to have, like you just said, these are.
But
good.
my browser crashed. Like it was so bad.
Okay, well, if you want to get...
What did I miss?
Okay, let's go back. He's trying to say the music is so stimulating that people who have hypersensitivity to stimulating things will like Sonic when it's not stimulating.
Pieces. Emerald Coast, Kingdom Valley, and Studiopolis can play a significant part in enhancing the gameplay experience of someone with ASD. The memorable melodies, comforting rhythm, and nonverbal expression of these songs can help people with ASD escape from an overstimulating environment.
See, this is what I don't understand. Video games are overstimulating. They hit you with visual and audio and interactive feedback. they are way more stimulating than watching a movie, unless the movies are just all explosions and whatever.
Yeah.
So to argue that the autist, because there's many flavors of autism, need less stimulation, and you show me a Sonic game, I'm like, whoa, slow down there. Sonic games go by really, really quick. Like, they're fast. That is overstimulating my brain to process what just happened on the screen, because I'm controlling Sonic and he's moving around and dodging and jumping and whatever. So isn't that the opposite argument? Because the games are so fast, they're overly stimulating. They're not, unless he's arguing that they're so fast, but they play very, I don't know, like you're in a car and you can't feel how fast you're going because you're going like 120 kA, and it's just on the highway and everyone's going the same speed. And you can't notice because it's so soothing, because everyone's just in the groove of driving really quickly, but really, 4 meters away or whatever it is. You could make that argument that even though it's so stimulating, because you're in this zone of what's the state? There's a certain state. Even Elon was talking about when he's playing what's that game he loves?
Deus Ex.
Elden Ring. He's saying he gets to this flow state where everything is just all reactive and he's just like responding quickly because he's focused. That could be the argument he's trying to make here, that because there's so much stimulation and all you're doing is focusing on this little blue guy, you could learn to block out all the other visual stimuli. That would be a good explanation for what he's trying to say, as opposed to, because Sonic is not this soothing game. It's a lot going on, which is, compared to Mario at the time, which was like, do 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 do. It's very slow. That would be very relaxing to play. Whereas Sonic games are the opposite. I would argue are the opposite. So
very much so. Like, it's just like so much on reflexes. Like Mario as well, but like it gets out of hand real fast in a Sonic game.
Yeah, there's adrenaline going. Sometimes there's too much adrenaline going through when you play a racing game,
and a lot of bugs.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Outside of gameplay. Speaking of the gameplay, that too can add sensory appeal to the Sonic games. If you have a brainstem, you know that Sonic gameplay is often fast-paced and speedy. This super fast gameplay can be very rewarding to certain autistic individuals. While some may find...
So,
thank you.
So he's not understanding what he's saying. Either autists need something soothing or they need something overly stimulating. Which is it? And maybe it's both, but you have to explain that. You can't just say, they also like the gameplay. The gameplay is really fast. It's like, that's contradictory to what you just said. Like, I don't if a cat wants to calm down, you don't throw a freaking dangling keychain with a mouse looking object and like jump it around and have its eyes dart fat and its head go crazy. That you don't want to stimulate. If you want to calm someone down, you give them like a fireplace with a white noise, with something that's like lets them relax. Playing a Sonic game doesn't make you relax. I don't think playing any game, unless it's like a very specific kind of game of a certain genre, will make you relax. We play games to stimulate ourselves. This is like playing Myst is relaxing because it's an adventure game. You have to figure out what to do. It's a puzzle. There's all these. It makes you ponder the environment. This is like Twitch gameplay. You're playing very quickly. Anyway,
find it too fast and too stimulating. Others may find it.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. It was Tommy, the musical Tommy, or the story about Tommy, the pinball wizard who was autistic, the kid.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, that's a classic example of a kid playing a game who was a pinball wizard, genius at it, but was deaf, I think. I couldn't remember the lyrics of the song. It was like, Tommy, can you hear me? Da, 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 da. So there was all these musicals involved. I don't know why my small history of musicals is coming out when I talk about stuff. It's like, I went to the stage. I watched shows. I watched Shakespeare. Okay.
Maybe Smud. you're on the spectrum as well.
Oh yeah,
And you love one of the characters from Sonic.
I'm a
You,
I'm a closet.
you love Dr. Eggman.
I'm a closet film major, and I graduated unknowingly talking about Blade Runner is the best movie ever, and I forgot my thesis. I just erased that part of my memory.
I love Big the Cat because he eats a lot, and he probably likes steak and cheese.
I read some Bulgakov one day, and I got depressed and traveled the world, and I forgot my European vacation days. I just came back a different man.
And then I had a filet mignon, and it was well done.
I met the love of my life, and I completely forgot what she looked like, and then I came back to Canada, and everything was better.
With my 50-meter long cable.
Yeah. My Cat 5. It's like 30 years old. Anyway. Almost at 6 minutes.
Individuals with ASD may be more stimulated mainly by the aesthetic or the visuals of the more stylistic games, like Sonic Rush, Colors, or Generations. The Sonic series of video games has a load of potential in terms of sensory appeal for autistic individuals. The colorful and cartoony design of its characters, its high standard for music, and speedy but stylistic gameplay can all cater to people with ASD really easily.
I'm just lost. Is it supposed to be stimulating or not? Which one? If it is, argue that. If it's not, why did you say it's not? Which one? You can't say it's very stimulating, it's also not stimulating, and that's why they like it. It's like, no, you either like the saltiness or you don't like the saltiness. You either like the sweetness or you don't. You can't have it both ways. This is silly. He's just a fan of...
I don't think he has a script. He's just saying words at this point.
Yeah, Sonic is a great game, and if you're autistic or anorexic or you have sleep apnea or whatever, you could like Sonic. You're like, why? What? It doesn't make any sense.
Because you had so much enjoyment. Just look at the color palettes of these characters.
Yeah, if you're a psychopath, you are a serial murderer, and you're in prison and you're playing Sonic, it's gonna you're gonna be a better person for playing Sonic. Like, what? What are you talking about?
Abortions can inspire you to play more as Knuckles because you know, when you have an abortion, you have blood.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
This is.
Oh man.
People love this video. Almost 800,000 views, 99% upvotes, and I'm just going, this is the dumbest thing. the layman Sonic fan. It's great. Sonic's fun. If you have a mental disorder, you're like, oh, okay.
That is crazy. It actually has 731,000.
Yeah, I know.
No fucking way.
He dares to call himself Odysseus. I'm like, yeah, you're on a journey, sir.
Like, now I understand like why he's called Odysseus. Like, if I was spouting out such garbage, like no wonder the gods wouldn't want me to come back home.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, man, you gotta sit this one out.
Yeah, too bad Hector died. We could have had a better hero out of the Odyssean story. A better hero was left behind. Okay, anyway.
Many of those diagnosed with ASD will find a soothing and stable experience in not just the games.
This is a soothing and stable experience? It's a kaleidoscope of Twitch reaction gameplay. What are you talking about? Does he understand what he's saying? Again, if he explains this in, like, let's say the locus of control is simple, like you just go up and down, left and right, and Sonic does the rest, then you can make the argument that you're doing something very complicated, but in a very simple way. And there's an appeal to that, like when kids press a button on the remote control and boom, they've turned on Netflix or whatever. Kids love that. If that's what you're talking about, that technology is causing children to come out of their shell or be attracted to things, then great. Like I still have my nephew. He loves lights. He's like, 5, 6. He still likes playing with lights, whether they're flashlights or Christmas tree lights or blowing out the candles. He likes blowing out the candles. He loves it. He loves most.
I loved lights as well when I was 2.
And there's, because you press a button, boom, you get all kinds of cool things. And I got all these cool flashlights. You press them, they flash, they flicker. There's emergency mode. There's all this cool stuff. So is that what he's getting at? That you could press a button and all this awesome stuff happens and you don't know what you did, but it's fun? Then great. I could see the kaleidoscope. I could see the amusement ride element of the Sonic genre or the Sonic franchise. Sure, I'm with you there. But he's not saying that. He's saying it's overstimulating and also soothing. And I'm like, that doesn't make any damn sense, sir. I think I've repeated myself, but anyway.
Yeah.
But other Sonic-related media as well, and likely get them hooked. Which brings me to my next topic.
Likely get them hooked.
Special interests. When talking about autism, you may have heard the phrase special interests pop up here and there.
Nope.
These refer to activities or objects that people develop a strong fondness for. For people with autism, these quote-unquote special interests can develop very easily. For a combination of neurological reasons, individuals with autism can become so hyperfixated on certain ideas or topics that it, at times, may become harder for them to explore anything else. Whether it's a coping mechanism, a pathway for communication, or just something they're emotionally attached to, autistic people forming special interests is very common, and at times, it may be all they talk about. This is less of a reason as to why autistic people tend to be infatuated with Sonic, and more of a reason as to why it's so highlighted. If an autistic person has a special interest in something, they tend to show it. Often.
Really?
A significant amount of autistic individuals within the
Who's a person who has an interest in something and they don't show it at all?
Well, you must be autistic. I mean, that's... I don't know.
You must be autistic because you're interested in how to cook this food.
Yeah, the gearhead who went to school to be a mechanic likes cars. It's like, wow, he talks about cars? He must be autistic. I mean, it's on the spectrum, man.
He has a passion about the topic. Are you even normal? What the fuck are you even doing here?
The guy who went to medical school becomes a doctor, has a passion for helping people. Like, whoa, he must be autistic. I mean, that's...
Yeah, next time I'm on an operating table, I'm gonna ask like all of them, like, "Oh, man, are you autistic?"
There's the show about the kid who is Asperger's. I can't remember. The Good Doctor. I think it's a Canadian show. And
Yeah, it's made by the same guy who made Doctor House or Mr. House.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't watched
House
it.
MD. Yeah.
I haven't watched it, but I see clips. My mom watches it, whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so weird. Like he has a speech problem, but he's so.
I am a surgeon.
Yeah.
I think that's the clip.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's that's the show.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I've actually watched, or sat down with my mom to watch whatever she likes watching, and I was like, "What is this show about?" Because it has Toby from The West Wing, who's also Odin in Ragnarok, and I was like, it's Odin. he's a doctor with a Jewish New York accent. Oh, that's great. Fun times. It's Toby. Anyway.
They should have Seinfeld characters.
Elaine being a doctor.
Yeah.
No. I want Michael. I want, what's his name? Kramer. I want him to be a doctor. It'd be perfect.
Yeah, Kramer.
Tall man. Talking about...
What is happening in there?
I don't know. His career is gone, but it's...
I think... This will be the show to bounce back.
You play we need your comedic talents to play a doctor, Michael. It's like, oh, okay. I could do it.
I could do it while talking about Sonic.
Because his stand-up involved the N-word, and it was not received well, and boom, he's gone. That's what happens.
All those N-words.
Yeah.
How tolerant they are.
If only they were autistic and just could appreciate the stimulation of comedy, and then they would share that passion with us.
And Sonic.
Sonic community, mixed with a desire to share their interests with others inside that community, can lead to the trend becoming more noticeable.
Or, as you said, they speak when no one's speaking to them, or if they are, they don't pay attention because they're weird and they're talking to themselves like a crazy person. So, yeah, I mean, that also can happen, as you described. It's great. You're just alone in a chair at the back of the class, and you're just like rambling on about, I don't know, airplanes.
Sonic and autism.
Or you could be,
That's what he's rambling about, and the teacher tells me.
Yeah.
Odysseus, this is the 7th time you have brought up Sonic and autism. I'm really sick of this topic.
It's like he's got that Rain Man like art. He's like rocking in his chair, calming himself down. on level 7.3, I went 1 minute and 26 seconds. Yeah, I was very fast. Yeah, I was really okay too.
I even had like 100 ranks, and then Robotnik beat me, and all the ranks fall out. I was really sad.
Oh God. Anyway, we're not making fun of autistic people, and there's our theoretical worldview of what they would say or how they would act. No,
absolutely not. Only this video.
Anyway, 7 minutes and a half. Sonic games have a lot to talk about in terms of history, story, and game design. When an autistic person has a special interest, they tend to pour hours into exposing themselves to it and learning.
I love it when the music is more louder than the guy. Because like he should entirely mute himself and just have the music on.
Honestly, he could be talking about any non-violent psychological ailment. Anything, and it would sound exactly the same. Again, replace it with sleep apnea. A sleep apnea person would love blah 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 because blah 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 blah, and this and that, and you're like, what? What are you? You're not connecting any dots.
He's there's nothing connecting these points together. Like he's just. It's so important things like in Sonic games like history.
Yeah. And game design or game mechanic. Like what do you? There's a lot.
My favorite part about Sonic is when it touched on subjects such as the fall of Constantinople.
Oh yeah, that was great.
More. This provides a lot of room for communication for autistic individuals with.
Are you okay? When I play a video game in the 90s like Mario or any game that is apparently as diverse and complex and historical as Sonic, this is generally not a topic I would share with my friends to show off my knowledge of the world. It's not exactly a conversation piece you go on a date with. It's just, back in my day, I used to play Sonic, and I learned about world history and mechanics and color palettes. And it's like, really? You did all that playing Sonic? Okay. That's incredible. I'm going to go now. You have yourself a great life playing that Sonic game. Learning about the world.
Where the person just peaked because he finally played Sonic. And then afterwards, like he just doesn't have like anything to live for.
1991 was like the end of it. Like once you pass that year, like
that's just like that. There's no going back.
Your life is over. You're done. You're a finished human being. There's you've learned all there is to learn, sir.
But sir, there are more Sonic games. Oh, there are.
I'm a Sonic Puritan. I only play the first Sonic.
And my name is Kristen Weston Chandlerson.
You can't get better than perfection.
Chandler.
Oh boy.
Something that typically may be a challenge, which brings me to my third and final topic: escape. It's no secret that video games can provide a source of escape for many players, transporting them to a whole new world that isn't affected by issues that they may be encountering in their real one. Sonic is no different. With the social disadvantage that ASD causes, it's possible for some who are diagnosed to feel unwanted or like an outcast. With its symptoms, it most of the time becomes a challenge for those with ASD to make friends and engage with peers. As I said,
so playing a single player game is going to help that?
Absolutely.
Oh, because of the wide history lessons and teaches lessons on game design and whatever. You could,
You know, when I played Deus Ex, I understood how a security guard feels when his limbs are torn apart.
oh yeah. Or
And you have to like have your sunglasses embedded to your skin.
or a secret cabal of oligarchs are controlling everything. Oh, that's how the world works. Oh, yeah.
I was like, come on, Illuminati.
Yeah,
Are you high?
yeah. It's basically just like my Japanese animes I used to watch as a kid, and it just I'm playing it now. It's the same. It's
And then a weird Japanese man just comes out of the bush and asks me like, "Do you like it?"
art imitates art, which teaches us about world history of how senators in America are controlled by nanomachines. I learned about that in video games. Anyway.
To make America
Or
great
for
again.
them to read social cues, make eye contact, or know when to stop talking. Not
And okay, let's just hear what you say.
only this, but the overstimulation of someone with ASD may influence their social experiences in a negative way. As a result, autistic people may turn to the aforementioned special interests in order to find comfort or escape, one of which may include video games. Video games provide
Okay, so it's not Sonic per se, it's just escapism in general. Not necessarily video games, just a book.
I love how every single thing that he talked about could be said about literally any topic. And like the context of the video wouldn't change.
Yeah, again, any physical, pick a physical ailment. I don't know, blindness for God's sakes, blindness, history, and escape. Like you could learn history on an audiobook. You could play Sonic blind because it's a challenge, and blind people need challenges in their life. Sure, it's escapist because everything's escapist. If you're not doing a given thing, you're escaping from it. It's like, okay, great. Whatever.
a sense of control and predictability. When playing a video game,
What?
the player and
No.
the player alone
No.
is in
Stop.
control of the action.
Stop!
And if you're replaying the game,
By the way, I love like the Kingdom Hearts footage because the creator himself admitted that he watches YouTube videos to understand the lore of his own creation.
Oh no. That's
Because he forgot about some of them.
that's terrifying. Jesus.
That has to be fucking pathetic.
That's like a writer, like, I don't know, like Tolkien, who's writing all these novels, all these series of books that build upon each other, and going, oh yeah, what did I write about in the first book?
I do remember that, like Christopher, like his youngest child, did mention it to his father that, like, hey dad, like those two things can't happen because you already did that in like a earlier chapter. It's like, oh yeah, son, thank you. Like I'm gonna do this before I publish my work. It's that is just so silly.
Yeah, well, referencing other fandoms, I get what he's trying to do here, but Kingdom Hearts, Sonic, these are very niche. Kingdom Hearts especially is one of those weird, we've talked about it before, one of those weird series or franchises rather, that
shouldn't exist.
It's so confusing, and you have to really pay attention to understand what's going on if you're a fan. And of course, fans do that. That's great. But to compare it to the Sonic games, that's, yes, very big history of Sonic games, very popular games, but for very different reasons. And not even the same gameplay, not even the same art style, like everything's different. So is he just a gamer and he's just listing the stuff he likes? Like his other videos about like Kingdom Hearts and other games?
I don't think he likes games. I think like he just likes Sonic, and that's it.
Maybe he's got like I don't know. There's a certain, not a phobia, but he has a certain desire to diagnose himself, but he doesn't have the acumen or he doesn't have the knowledge of, or I don't know,
he doesn't have the money. That's
to go to a psychologist and say, what's wrong with me?
that will be $100. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a weird. This is a weird. Like again, if someone was about to make this video and I was in the room with them and they'd be like, "Here's my script, Smud. Take a look." I look at it and I go, "Huh." You realize you don't know what you're talking about on every page. You're making a lot of anecdotal references, and there's no correlation at all. Because when you have a title that says the link between X and Y, and I go into detail, and all you're saying are anecdotes, then that's not a link. That's a weak logical association at best. So, pshaw.
Surprises are going to be less likely. When making a mistake in a video game, you're granted practically an infinite amount of opportunities to try and try again, lowering the pressure of failing a lot, especially for those with ASD. The rules are clear and simple.
All you're saying are people with this sort of issue aren't very good. They're not very good at failure. They're not very good at talking. They're not very good at listening. They only like the thing they like.
The only good thing they can do is entertain themselves with Sonic.
Yeah, it's like you're describing them as a bunch of losers. Like they're just losers, but they like Sonic, and you're like, that's great. But I mean, there's lots of people who like Sonic. It's not just these kinds of people. Unless we're going through the whole fandom. What's the spectrum of fandom? Like there's all the people who all like the same thing, but they're all from different walks of life. And like you get the 1% or the crazies, the 2% or the weirdos. And there's like 20% are look like normal people, but they got like fetishes, and there's like all these other, and all the way at the bottom there's the Asperger guys, or the people on the spectrum for autism. You're like, oh, like maybe if he gave me a bell curve and he explained or just showed me like what the bell curve is, what the fans are like. Like, remember we had the stats from BioWare about how many people chose classes of a certain type on Mass Effect, and how many chose FemShep, like all that stuff. Like, do the choices matter? Like, that was like, oh, that's stats. I can use that, and then you could extrapolate from that and have your own theories why everyone chose male Shep, or why everyone chose soldier class, or whatever. That's good. That's good to know. And you could argue all kinds of things like, well, it's mostly an American audience. They like guns, therefore they chose soldier. Like, oh, yeah, maybe. Who knows? So that would be more, at least that has some numbers behind it. That is something we could factually check and work with the theory. And we could argue that, because I would say, well, soldier class is very simple, but it's also very efficient. And it does all the things you want a shooter to do, even though it has almost nothing to do with the setting of biotics or technical stuff, like the high science fiction stuff. It's just shoot. That's exactly what people want to do. It's like, okay, that's why they played it. As opposed to, oh, it's American likes guns. Guns are good. Like, no, it could be, but probably not. Anyway, 9 minutes, 20 seconds.
If you mess up, it's not the end of the world. If there's something you don't understand, you'd usually read the instructions or watch the tutorial again.
Really?
And this goes beyond Sonic the Hedgehog. Super Mario, Rocket League, Fortnite, Persona, whatever it is, video games offer a virtual but controlled environment. As a result, those with...
I don't think we can associate Persona players and
autism.
Like, Persona is so niche, like compared to like Mario and Sonic and Fortnite. It is multiple styles of genre, and it's not just like when I think of Sonic, I think of a game I could pick up and put down. It's fast, it's fun, it's simple. I think there's a save, so you save your progress. Persona is like you need a good hour at least just to sit down and go, okay.
At least to just start the game.
Yeah, just to get through the first, not even the first level, the first dialogue part, and the cutscenes and the intro, and then all these other things that just happen before you even arrive at wherever you're going. So yeah, this is very, very poor connection he's making here.
This is really sad.
ASD may find video games a place of safety, and as I mentioned earlier, offers them a community of like-minded individuals.
I would hate to think that people who play video games are so shy and so introverted that they need them to find friends, because that was never the case growing up. When you were shy or alone, teachers, friends, and other kids would encourage you to interact, play games, play with the ball, play at gym time. So this is like a very specific needs kid who just cannot interact. Like, this is what he's talking about. So, and he's not outlining that, because again, there's flavors of autism, but this is like the kind of kid that no one talked to, and he didn't talk to anyone. So it's like, okay, well, if I can't interact with the rock, he's going to be by himself. But if you give him a video game console, maybe he'll interact with that. Maybe. So that is the level he's describing, or should be describing in detail, because he's not doing that. He's just like, oh, they could find friends playing video games. It's like, yeah, so can normal people find. Like, what are you getting at? What a weird. This is such a empty nothing video.
It really much sounds like a ChatGPT video.
It's like, I'm a fan of Sonic. I'm going to say stuff about Sonic I like, and I did a Google search on random psych complicated topic. Let me talk about the two. Okay. Yeah, ask Chat. What's the relationship between Sonic and autism? ChatGPT, like, give you like a bullet point list, and he just ran with it. He tried to rationalize the bullet points without any explanation.
The first thing that ChatGPT gave him as an answer is that, dude, please don't make a YouTube video about this topic. I beg you, as an AI program, please don't do this. No, why did you do this?
Oh dear.
Sonic isn't the only gaming franchise that works well for autistic people.
No.
Video games as a whole.
Why are you changing the top? Like, what is this?
Now he has the only footage of Breaking Bad where they are playing Sonic 06 on Xbox. No, seriously, like, they had to grab a random game at the time, and it was Sonic 06.
Really? Cool.
Yes.
That's funny.
Easily attract those with ASD because of their defined
or
rules,
the racing game,
lack of
I guess,
pressure,
yeah.
and a sense of control and belonging. Social interaction is important, don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that those with ASD who just feel overwhelmed with communication in their surroundings will likely take a break and immerse themselves in video games from time to time, and find a comfort.
This is. I swear to God, he's talking about himself. Because why else would you say these weird things? This hypothetical autistic person would do X, Y, Z. It's like, really? Because the autist you described is a dude with no friends who grew up with no social interaction, and all he had was a video game console from Sega. And he played the first one in 91 or whatever. Now he's like a 40, 50-year-old man. Like, okay. Maybe.
Video games, like...
Oh God, let's just stop there. He's just going to ramble on.
Yeah, I hope it's the end of the video.
Yeah, we have a minute left. I don't care. Do you want to go through it?
No,
Yeah.
It's meaningless.
I think it's meaningless.
The other thing is that I checked his channel because, like, his rambling is just white noise at this point. And he doesn't seem to have, like, any other hits. Like, he has this video, and every other video barely hits, like, 100 views. There are, like, a few, like, a couple of 1,000-view videos, but
Yeah.
Other than that, at least, kind of like a one-hit wonder.
All right, let's see if there are any memes, hopefully on the topic.
Oh, no.
Let's see what we got here. Halloween. No, I'm not going to read that one. That's a weird one. The Flash can travel space, apparently. That's interesting. I think we're going to have to kill this guy, Shadow. Damn. Okay. Not sure I got the context for there. Ken penders when he realizes echidnas exist in real life. All right, let's hit the play button. Here we go. And he smashed something against the wall. No thoughts, head empty, just speed. See that would be the argument for people who like going fast, people who want to sign up to be in the Air Force, people who like cars, people who like motorcycles, people who like, I don't know, motorboats, whatever. Happier, more heartwarming Sonic info. Maria was the one that designed Shadow's air shoes. Okay. Who's Maria?
Incredible.
Is she a creator of something?
Maria is, I think, like the because Eggman had, or Robotnik had like a grandfather, I believe, or a father, and the daughter of that person was Maria.
Okay.
And like she was a friend of Shadow.
Oh, actual character in the game. Okay.
Yes.
The problem with being faster than the speed of light is that you live in darkness. What? That's a very strange quote. I don't think that actually makes any sense, but anyway. What are your thoughts on the...
Well, where's the joke?
Why is the...
Because they removed the flash symbol, so it's just the...
On the...
Duh.
I don't... I'm a little lost here. This is... I don't know what that is. Some kind of glitch?
Yes.
Autism, no thoughts, empty head, just speed, multiple personality disorder.
Something.
The Hulk?
Green Man.
Yeah, the Hulk is... Oh, that's whenever he goes to his mind, there's versions of himself. Yeah, okay. There's our Shinji on the train.
Amazing.
His favorite place in the world.
Listening to the Green Hill Zone.
There's... The skin tone's the same. He must be part of the SS. Of course he is.
Yes. Our great Aryan Fox.
And there is Shinji in bed. Still
listening to Sonic.
Still listening to Sonic. You just can't get enough of that. Just calms him right down before bed. Or maybe it's his jump start in the morning. He's like, gotta get in that robot. Here we go. Okay. Gonna screw up that courage. Play that Sonic whatever song. Dee doo dee doo dee doo doo. And the last one, which looks like a flash animation of some kind, and it's Robotnik getting smashed by a car.
Oh,
that's sad.
Poor guy.
This is not one of those like adult flash animations, but it just has violence in it too.
You know what? I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. All those weird Newgrounds people. It's like, what?
Oh boy.
That was a thing back... Is it still a thing? I have no idea.
It is still a thing. Like that site is still functional. I think it's just a collection.
But they can't use Flash anymore, right? Because Flash is...
What they have done is that basically have well, you can make HTML5 stuff, but they basically converted the Flash into HTML5.
Oh.
So some sites can function as like emulators for that, but otherwise it's kind of safe now to use those old Flash games when they are converted. Because like that was like the biggest concern with Flash, the security, because you could like run all kinds of like background code. Yeah,
and it was unsupported like I'm gonna say 9 years ago, if not more.
Yes, even more. Yeah, they have stopped entirely like giving out like security patches.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was 10.5 minutes of an almost 12-minute long. I want to say an anecdote or anecdotal reference to why he likes Sonic and why he thinks others might like it who may or may not be autistic, because it's kind of hard to describe what autistic version of a Sonic game player he was talking about. So, yeah, that was really bad, and I was going to say dumb, but obviously he knows the topic to some capacity. He just wasn't explaining anything in any... Well, he wasn't making an argument. We were just sitting there going, this is a horrible essay, sir. So, yeah. Color scheme, bright flashing lights, and music does not necessarily equate to people who are artistic liking it. That's weird. It could work, but you have to explain the connection. You can't just say, I like it, therefore people who like the things I like, who could be autistic, will also like it. That's I don't know what that is. Again, any mental disorder, any mental condition, same argument either way. So I'm glad we got that out of the way, because finally we had a gaming video to cover, and that was bad. Yeah, for almost 800,000 views, that's incredible. That is, did he like?
I don't know if he's sincere. I hope he's not.
Did he boost this somehow?
No way. I think it's the algorithm.
Like I am trying to like go through the comments to see what people think of this, and I just don't get it. Is it just weirdos in chat and they were like boosting this personally because it's so stupid? Or is it just fanboys going, oh, it's a Sonic video, I'm autistic, man, blah, 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 blah. Like,
listen, like there are like people who go to Kamala Harris rallies because they think like she's smart. So yeah, I think like it's totally acceptable that some people think that this is actually like well researched video about this topic.
Well, definitely out of all this, guys, go watch the Joe Rogan Experience with Trump. It was done last night. I watched it this morning. It was about 3 hours worth. And it's pretty entertaining. I mean, it's not the most amazing conversation he's had, but it goes off track sometimes, but it's actually really insightful because he was talking about releasing the JFK files and a few other things that I think people in general would like to know about. So, lots of good stuff. Stuff I already knew about, like when he was in office, he didn't know who to hire. And he got, was it Steve? Not Steve Bannon. What was that? The Secretary of State guy with the mustache, who was like a war hawk. And one of his friends from California said, don't hire that guy. And he says, well, I already hired him. He was a war hawk. And that's, he says that it was also good because he was behind him whenever he went to foreign countries. And they saw how much of a crazy guy the guy behind him was. So they treated Trump really well because he had the war hawk behind him. I remember when he appointed him, because I knew who that guy was, and I was like, "Oh, that guy was during the Bush years," and they went into Iraq because of him. But anyway, check it out. Have yourself a great evening. Thanks for listening. Keep the suggestions coming. That was actually a good video to cover because it was so nutty, and it had to do with psychology, one of my passions, and gaming. Not necessarily Sonic games, but games in general. So cool. And thank you so much. Have yourself a great evening. Good night.